Hello everyone and welcome to the Mars Horizon 2 The Search for Life TactiCon panel. As the name implies, Mars Horizon 2 is all about finding life and to ensure that the game is representative of true astrobiology, Auroch Digital has been working closely with the UK's Centre of Astrobiology at the University of Edinburgh. Today we're going to be putting Mars Horizon under the microscope and explore how our game and real-life science are intertwined. But, of course, I'm getting excited ahead of myself. We have three wonderful guests with us today. So we're going to start with some introductions. I'm the host, so I get to go first. Yay, me. I'm Will, the lead marketing manager here at Auroch Digital. And we're joined by Sean, Claudia, and Freddie. I'm going to pass over to those guys right now. So why don't we start with Claudia? Tell us a bit about yourself and what you do at Auroch.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Claudia, and I am one of the games designers on Mars Horizon 2 here at Auroch Digital. Been working on it for quite a while, and very excited to be working on it. So
Awesome. Thank you, Claudia. Same to you, Freddie.
Hi, I'm Freddie. I'm an associate programmer at Auroch Digital, and I've been on Mars Horizon 2 since about pre-production, been on and off a bit. But yeah, I've loved to see how the game's developed, and it's come a really long way.
Thank you, Freddie. Nice to have you both here. And last but not least, Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean McMahon. I'm a senior academic at the University of Edinburgh, where, among other things, I'm program director for the master's degree in astrobiology and planetary sciences. And it's students on that program, as well as myself, who've had the pleasure of interacting with Auroch Digital on Mars Horizon 2.
Excellent, awesome. Thank you and welcome. So now we have the introductions out of the way, we can get into the nitty gritty. So at Auroch Digital, we love a good partner. We've worked with Games Workshop for Boltgun, and for Mars Horizon 2, we've been working with the European Space Agency and, of course, the University of Edinburgh. So my first question to each of you is, can you tell us a bit more about the relationship between Auroch Digital and the University of Edinburgh? How did that first relationship begin, and why? Open to the floor.
I can tell you what my experience has been. I think your colleague John O'Donnell got in touch with me. It feels like it was 2 years ago. Might have been more recent than that. And we got into a conversation about some of the science for the game. And I was just probably on the cusp of launching our new master's degree program. And at some point, I realized that there was an ideal kind of marriage there, because we've got these brilliant students from around the world who have expertise in all of the areas of science that I was being asked about. And it'd be great for them to get the experience of translating that science for, let's say, a non-specialist audience. And at the same time, the game would then have access to all this exciting information. So it seemed like a win-win. And so that's how the master's program and students and the game kind of became connected.
Awesome, thank you. Claudia, did you want to speak from Auroch's side of things?
Yeah, sure. I think from the game perspective, we're very keen on getting a level of authenticity into Mars Horizon 2. And because that's something that we had in the previous game, and we really wanted to pull onto those same strings for the sequel. Working with kind of partners, working with the university was obviously super useful. More experts in the field than we are, so it's great to get their input and kind of be able to design the game around the science and be influenced by that, and know that what we're getting is genuine, useful information there. So yeah, it's been super useful.
Awesome to hear. And I suppose we've worked in a similar way with the European Space Agency as well, trying to make sure that authenticity is there in Mars Horizon. While it's a video game, it's still true to science. Awesome, thank you. So we've got a bunch of advice and insights from the university. How do we implement that information, and how do we take that on board when we start working on a video game?
Oh, I can jump in. Yeah, so I guess as the name suggests, the core aspect of Mars Horizon 2 is you're searching for life around the solar system. And I guess a tie in with that authenticity we want within the game is we want to be able to search for players to be searching for plausible forms of life, and kind of basing that upon the data and the information. And so it was kind of great to work with the university and collaborate with them and kind of outline what kind of life forms there would be on these other planets, like what are the environments like, what's habitable for life, and kind of how would we investigate that if we did investigate that life in the other planets. So I guess kind of really drawing upon all of that information to kind of design a game and what the levels would be like and what these planets would be like. Yeah, so that's really what we've drawn from all the great work.
I think in recent discussions, the focus has been on scenarios where you guys at Auroch have said, what about this environment? What about this planet or moon? And then we've discussed that here and tried to think about what's plausible, what's not plausible, and come back with some advice about what would be a scientifically authentic thing to happen in the game. That's been really fun for us because some of these scenarios we never would have thought about if you hadn't asked. So we've been able to be maybe a bit more creative and a bit more kind of envelope pushing than we would normally be for the sake of having something interesting for the game rather than just everywhere being completely sterile.
And can I sneakily ask there, Sean, what kind of examples were there that we might see?
Well, I don't know how much of this is confidential and how much I shouldn't say because of non-disclosure agreements, but I guess you can edit this later. Some of the stuff we were talking about in the outer solar system in particular was kind of far out, and I think we came up with some quite original ways in which it's possible to envisage that there could be life there. That if there is life there, it's probably something like that.
Okay, that's interesting to know. Freddie, any thoughts on this question?
Yeah, I mean, I remember way back when we were planning this game, we knew it was going to be the search for life, and the first question that came up was, what is life? What is extraterrestrial life? And I was like, little green men in UFOs? Is that what we're looking for in this game? So it's really cool that now that we've got the University of Edinburgh on board, we've got this actual like scientific grounding. Obviously, we could have done our own research, that would have taken time, but it's really great to actually work with a university who specializes in this kind of research and have that grounding in the game, as opposed to there's life over there. There's a man waving. Oh, we found it.
I suppose it keeps it. More real isn't the right term to use, but it's definitely more plausible that what you find is what you get, rather than, oh well, we've just got a UFO and some aliens living on the moon, the dark side of the moon or something.
I mean, it's still, in essence, it is a sci-fi game because it is in the future finding life, but it's still great that this could happen. Realistically, this is how we could find life.
I think it's also about, it's not just what you could find, but also how you would find it. What would be the signs that you would look for? We've had lots of discussion about
that. So lots of questions for you now, and I won't read them all. I'll pretend I don't have the notes here in front of me, and I won't read them all off at once. But how do we make science fun in games? Creating a loop that's engaging and encouraging those players who are playing Mars Horizon to keep searching for life. Open to the floor.
Okay. I think that's a difficult question to answer, and it's something that definitely in the design team we've been trying to balance for a long time and still are. We still often have discussions around certain aspects of the design and kind of trying to get that balance, which is definitely difficult. But I think what we've tried to do, particularly with the game loop, I mean, the game is a lot around exploration and discovery as a key aspect. And so you're kind of exploring a lot of these worlds and learning about them, learning what's there, learning kind of about the environments, which gives you kind of rewards, which gives you resources. And it's then about the strategy of what you do with that and how you manage your agency. Do you want to look further upon this planet and kind of learn if life's there, or do you think it's better to look at another planet which you think would be more plausible for life? Do you want to upgrade certain parts of payloads to do certain actions, to go to certain planets? So it's really kind of exploring to gain rewards to then upgrade your agency, depending upon the strategy you want to use in order to find where life could be. So we've really tried to kind of, I guess, sort of keep that mystery, which I think is very intriguing at the moment. Like, we don't know where life could be or if there is life out there. So we've tried to really capture that within the game and, really let it up to players to decide how they play and where they want to go and where they want to search and how they want to do that. So, yeah.
And so, as I say, I pretend I don't have notes and know anything about this game, but could there be a circumstance then when you're on the cusp of finding life, you found these clues, but actually you abandon that to search for another planet to try and find a more concrete evidence of life? Is that sort of how the game loop works? You're sort of applying your resources to these planets and searching it, and maybe taking a risk to see what's there, or having to pull back and look further?
Yeah, definitely. There'll be it's almost like a little detective mystery. You'll be finding more clues, and you'll be like, oh well, I think it might be this and this planet, but I'm not sure, and I need to investigate them. And I know Sean, we talked before about like all these like red herrings and false leads, and kind of putting them into the game as well, making it, so many possibilities of where life could be. And we might think something's life, and then we investigate it and realize it isn't. So yeah,
that's a very familiar feature of the real life science of astrobiology. The whole history of the field is detections of life that turned out to be something else. And actually, coming back to your question about how we make it fun, I mean, I think the science is already fun, or at least there's a core part of it that's fun, and the way that you translate that into a game is not by making stuff up so much as by leaving stuff out. Because in the real world, obviously, we spend a lot of our time thinking about budgets and logistics and doing very laborious, tedious things in the lab that are just kind of manual labor all day long. And if you can leave that stuff out of the game and just focus on the exciting ideas and the exploration and the testing hypotheses and making decisions, then it's already going to be fun.
Good to know that we can put spreadsheets aside, leave that to work, and just
every job is just emails and spreadsheets, right?
Yeah.
It's exactly the same in science, except for that 10%, which is doing this cool stuff.
I mean, I know on the code side, we would love it if the game was just spreadsheets and emails. That'd be way easier to code.
Yeah. Not so much fun to play, though.
Exactly, yeah. So it's really great on the code side to see, like, when we get these designs in from the design team, we're like, okay, now we have to implement this system, like the world generation, how we have to make sure every planet has the right resources for finding life. While it is challenging, it's great to see when those systems work and to see the designers playtest it.
That aspect that Claudia talked about of trying to decide between different worlds that you might visit and explore and balancing the pros and cons, is very much the stage that we're in as a discipline in reality as well. And different space agencies are choosing to prioritize different planetary bodies, different instruments, different methods of finding life. So we're kind of looking everywhere all at once, but with slightly different groups of people doing doing the looking.
And this might be simplifying it a little bit too much, Sean, but what kind of signs would we traditionally look for?
Yeah, so there are things you could detect from a distance that just maybe are on the surface or in the atmosphere of a planet. There could be certain chemical compounds produced by life. There are the things you can look for if you actually have something on the ground, where you can maybe hope to find more complex molecules, or you could hope to find actual living organisms that might grow in an experiment that you do in the soil, or you might find fossils of organisms that are maybe not present anymore but were there millions or billions of years ago. That's kind of the hope on Mars at the moment. So I guess if you think about if you were parachuted into some desert on Earth, how would you try and find life? You do all the same kinds of things. You'd look under a microscope, you'd do some chemical analysis of the soil, you might try and feed it some nutrients and see if something grows, that kind of thing.
Okay. Interesting. So it feels like a lot of those signs might also just be, as we've discussed before, red herrings. That it's not always indicative that there's presence of life as a result of sort of chemical compounds and things we find, right?
Yeah, and that goes back hundreds of years. I mean, just to give one example, in the 1950s, a Harvard astronomer pointed a telescope at Mars when the darker side of the Martian surface was pointed towards the Earth, and thought that in the spectrum of Mars that he acquired, he could see evidence for plants on the surface. And then when Mars was facing in a different direction and less of the dark material was facing in Earth's direction, there was less of this plant-like stuff in the spectrum. So that seemed like really good evidence that the dark stuff was plants, which was already what people tended to assume at that time. As it turned out, the features that he was noticing in his spectrum were actually just an isotopic variety of water that was in Earth's atmosphere along the line of sight of his telescope. And it just happened to be a bit cloudier when he was taking the measurement that had the darker face of Mars in it. And it just happens by coincidence that these isotopic varieties of water have features in the same part of the spectrum as the molecules in plants do. But there's no way he could have thought of that. And that's usually the way it goes. There's something that turns out to be the true explanation, which nobody could have thought of until we'd been through this whole rigmarole of somebody saying it's life, and then we gradually figure out, no, it isn't.
It's really interesting. Just need to clean the lens of telescope.
Yeah.
It's a bit of smudge on the end. That's
yeah.
in the way.
Sometimes it's something with the instrument. Sometimes I guess more often there's something we just don't know yet about the universe, and we're discovering that and not what we're looking for.
It's really interesting to hear. And question for the Auroch side, how do you, with all these different actualities and situations that occur, how do you translate that into the game? How do you decide on what makes it into the game that has a fun gameplay loop attached to it? How do you decide that?
I guess, I suppose particularly, I'm trying to think in terms of life form wise, like we've almost decided not to leave things out of the game, I guess, because we want life to be potentially in multiple different places. So whenever you play through the game again, it's like you're re-exploring that mystery of where is life this time. So in that regard, we've kind of like kept a lot of those aspects in terms of what life could be and where it could be, to maintain, that kind of discovery aspect to it. But yeah, I mean, it kind of comes down to what fits in with the gameplay loop, testing it out and seeing what works and what doesn't work within the game. But I guess we focused a lot in terms of exploring on the surface. So I know in Mars Horizon 1 was a lot around kind of the travel and sort of you're starting your process, starting the kind of the rocket building. And now for the Mars Horizon 2, it's very much like finding life and what's happening when you get to these places. And that's kind of where we've kind of focused our fun on for this game.
So sort of Mars Horizon 1 is the journey, and now you've made it, and now we're looking at being on the planets and what comes
definitely.
with that. That's exciting. All right, let's move on to the next question. Sean, what's your experience with space-related video games, and how do you feel that's been implemented on other titles?
It's been a few years since I've played video games regularly, but I do have fond memories of being, I guess, must have been a teenager and playing the Homeworld video game series, which are very atmospheric and evocative and give you a sense of this kind of grandeur and majesty of space, which is achieved through lots of sweeping classical music and kind of bright nebulae in the backgrounds of all the battles. But I did enjoy that.
Is it space a lot darker than sci-fi games?
I think if you were right in the middle of a nebula in a star-forming region, it probably would actually be quite bright. So that's not necessarily unrealistic. But the classical music is, of course, not just playing throughout the universe like a shopping mall.
No sound, right? So
yeah, indeed.
I'm gonna bat this question also over to you, Freddie and Claudia. You're not scientists, but you are geniuses like scientists from my perspective as a marketing man. Could you kind of share your experiences of sort of space related games and maybe inspirations that you've taken into to work on Mars Horizon 2?
Yeah, I'm happy to go first on this one. Just thinking of space games I may have played. The first one that definitely comes to mind is FTL, Faster Than Light. Great little procedural story there. The gameplay is brilliant in the space battles. So I'm pretty sure that was my first space game I played. But then in recent memory, and especially relating to Mars Horizon 2, is Civilization Beyond Earth. I remember playing that when that came out, and that's very, very far future. Civilization has left Earth and gone to another planet, and all these different countries kind of congregate on this one planet and starting new civilizations there. And I think that's very similar to Mars Horizon 2 in that, you know, it's strategy and it's exploration. Of course, there's a lot more combat, which we're not fighting in this game. Please don't fight other people's rovers. But yeah, those are my space game picks.
Yeah, I think you've done well there, Freddie. I guess speaking a bit from the design team, yeah, we have taken a lot of inspiration from games like Civ or Humankind, but as well as kind of board games. Like we played a lot of Scythe as well to get an idea of kind of game structure, different strategies. So yeah, we've kind of taken inspiration not just from space games, but a variety of different types of games and genres as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So let's move away from space and back to Earth. We recently took a trip to the University of Edinburgh, and it'd be good to know how that benefited the game design, and has that provided the university with additional understanding of how the university can influence the game. Yeah, I'll leave that to whoever wants to jump on that question.
I can go first. How it's benefited design? Yeah, I think for me it was a great experience to go to the university and just see what it was like at the labs and the experiments that were happening, and what really stood out for me, I guess, is similar to what I said before, is how difficult it is to determine what is life. And I know we were looking through some of the microscopes, and so the students were kind of explaining how there was like a structure which was believed to be life, but then later on it was determined that it wasn't life, or vice versa. And it kind of really honed into me that just how difficult it is to determine life and how challenging it was going to be. And also, I was very intrigued by this, like, I don't know if you remember, Sean, the entity, this like just black petri dish of something that no one knew what it was. And I thought that was very creepy sci-fi, and that stood with me as well.
I'd love it if that's in the game.
Yeah, yeah. One of the life forms.
Yeah,
it's just the entity.
I guess like any lab, there's stuff that happens that you couldn't have guessed until you set the experiment up. And one thing that happens is that you find weird organisms you didn't expect to find that appear to be capable of surviving extreme conditions that you didn't expect them to be able to survive. That's one of them that seems to survive everything we throw at it so far. There's a cupboard under a staircase in the building that somebody has put a sticker on that says "The Void." So now we're wondering if the entity comes from the void, but that's just us being silly.
Maybe you could put it in there.
Maybe that's the best place for it. Yeah. I think that the students had a really good experience. I had a really good experience during the visit. I think one of the things that young scientists like our students often take some time to learn how to do is translating the science into something that's intelligible. And it's just a matter of thinking about your audience, thinking about what kind of jargon they're going to know or not know, and just it's basically a kind of empathy, I suppose. But you get better with practice, and this was a really good opportunity for our students to practice sharing their understanding, making it intelligible, leaving out the jargon, like actually explaining what they mean. And of course, often when you try to explain what you mean, you realize you don't properly understand it yourself. So it's always a learning experience, just trying to explain something to somebody else. And I'm sure there were lots of good experiences like that for our students and for me through the visit. Plus, it's actually just exciting. It's exciting to think that we have influence over what's hopefully going to be a really popular and successful game that we're all looking forward to playing and seeing how ideas from our collaboration have come up in the game.
And I look forward to us all succumbing to the entity, whatever it is, when we find out, when we know. Excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to move to the next question. And this is thoughts for the future. Freddie, you can start us off, no pressure. But what are some of the things you're particularly excited to see in the game? Some of the discoveries and the way in which the players will experience those. What are you excited for players to discover?
Yeah, well, I think one of the more exciting aspects of the game is actually what happens after you find life. So I know early on in development, the game was supposed to end once someone had found life and they were the winner. But now we've kind of gone past that into a design of, great, you found life. Now what happens next? And there's all these different victory conditions that the players can get. And I think that promotes really exciting different strategies for different playthroughs and a lot of replayability there. So I'm really excited to see how that system comes along.
Awesome. Thank you. Over to Claudia.
Yeah, I think what I'm very excited about, I think because I'm biased because I'm working a lot on the levels at the moment, is I'm just excited to see how players will navigate through the worlds, because we'll have different hazards and there'll be, different things that can damage you along the way. And I'm just very intrigued to see, the different strategies players will use to get across these planets, and which ones they'll kind of be drawn to, and just excited to see how they'll experience that. So that's what I'm most excited for.
Awesome. It sounds. I'm excited. I want to play it now. Sean?
I'm just looking forward to seeing the finished game. I think one aspect I'm quite interested in is what these worlds are going to feel like and the aesthetics of the environment and whether it's really going to feel like you're on Mars. I hope so. I'm looking forward to that. Some of these other worlds as well, we've never actually set a lander on the surface. So it's going to be a new experience, just feeling my way through a landscape that's in the outer solar system, for example. Looking forward to that.
That's great to hear. Glad you're excited. A lot of insightful answers there, guys, and yeah, I think we're gonna be able to find out very soon, as we'll be sharing more news about the game in the months to come. But before we close out, is there any final message that you'd like to share? It doesn't necessarily have to be about Mars Horizon, but can be any message you want to share with the viewers and the community. Open up to the floor. Final messages.
I guess just watch this space. Mars Horizon
No pun
2.
intended.
Actually, not intended. But yeah, it's as like someone working on the game, it's really cool to see how it's coming along bit by bit. But I know for our audience, they only get to see the snapshots that we let them see, and it's just so juicy. So definitely watch more for Mars Horizon 2. See what else we decide to drop.
That's a good plug, Freddie. I like it. It's good. Keep an eye on all our social channels. There you go. How about you, Sean? Any message?
I guess I would just say keep an eye on the news as well over the next few decades. It might not be that much longer before the science fiction becomes just science.
That's exciting. It sounds like you have inside knowledge of that.
I don't have inside knowledge.
Very confident. I like it.
But it's if it's there, I think we're the generation that might actually find it.
That is very exciting. Awesome. Claudia, anything before we sign off?
I mean, I don't know if I can outdo what Sean just said there. That sounded, groundbreaking. But yeah, I think I'm just very excited about it coming out, and just thankful for all the players. I mean, we do look at the Discord and see what people are chatting about and looking at their feedback, and it's definitely gives us all a little motivation on the dev team. So yeah, it's much appreciated from us.
Really nice to hear, and glad that we can be a nice stopgap before real life is found outside of Earth. So exciting. All right, thank you so much, Claudia, Freddie, and Sean, for joining us today. If you do want more Mars Horizon 2 goodness, as we've already sort of mentioned, be sure to follow us on our Auroch Digital social channels. We also have an official Discord server, so come and join the discussion over there. Lots of Mars Horizon fans discussing the game, both 1 and 2. So come and join us. It'd be great to have you there. Thank you so much, guys. We're gonna finish off there for today. Thanks so much, and see you all soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.